Hey everybody, I'm Zach with Exploration Overland, and today we are going to be doing a 1-year update on this MORRFlate air up system, so stay tuned guys. That is correct guys, it has been actually just over a year since I purchased this MORRFlate air up system, and I wanted to go over with you guys how it's been working. Talk about some of the new updates that they have done to the newer models of these, because this is an older model now. Within a year it's an older model, and just kind of tell you guys what I've been enjoying about this and what I have found that I don't really care for with this product. Now before I get into everything guys, we're in the garage, obviously. The garage door is open. People are driving up and down the road constantly. I apologize for the noise, but we will get through it. So back to this. This is the Gen 1 style twin compressor 10.6 inflation/deflation system that MORRFlate made. Now MORRFlate came out a couple of years ago. Ooh, things are falling. It's trying to escape. Okay, doesn't want to sit. Sit. MORRFlate came out a couple of years ago, and honestly, it didn't really take off until I want to say more towards the end of last year. Now, the reason I got this system originally was because I wanted an air up system, obviously, for when I got done on the trails so I could air up the tires on the Jeep, but I didn't want an ARB necessarily because ARB was very costly. The compressor, the mounting brackets for it all, the hoses, all of it in total was very, very expensive, and this was actually a very budget-friendly air up system. Now it has gone up in price some since when I bought this, but at the time I was able to get the hoses, the compressor, all of it for just over $300, which was a killer steal at the time. And one of the reasons I got this was because I had watched some other YouTube channels, and one of the guys actually was running this on their vehicles, and he had zero issues with it. He did a review on it, all these things, and it just, I don't know, it kind of fit my bill. So I said, I'll give it a shot, because what's the worst that can happen? It breaks. It means I just have to get a new one. So I went ahead, got this, and guys, this thing has worked flawlessly ever since I got it. Okay, let's just jump right into the pros and cons, and then afterwards I'll get to what has been updated on their Gen 2 models. So let's start with the pros. My favorite thing, pros. This thing has never failed me, guys. That is one of my biggest pros about this thing. I have used this so many times. It has never not worked. It has never given me issues. It has never, had a leak, things like that. It has always worked to inflate my tires. And even when I upgraded to 35s, which I know for some of you, having 35s is a very small tire, but it was an upgrade from the stock tires that I was running at the beginning. But even when I upgraded to 35s, guys, it handled the task just fine. And this has, like I said, never failed. Nothing has gone wrong with the hoses or the wire connectors on here. Now, with this does have rubber hose that you would connect to, wait for it, it's coming, the tire inflation. So I got their 4 tire inflation hoses because originally, and they still hold true to this, is that with their twin air compressor, it is meant for filling up all 4 tires at the same time, not doing it individually. Now you can, there's nothing wrong with it, you can fill up 2 tires at a time, or you can fill up all 4. I bought the kit that had all 4 hoses, and with this, guys, I have had no issues with these hoses, with the fittings, with the gauges, nothing of that sort. Nothing has gone wrong, broke, or messed up whatsoever, and that is a huge plus for me. Second, the other thing about this is it is compact, which I love, and it fits nicely in my recovery gear area, in my platform system that I made, and it just fits very nicely in there, and it goes in this bag, and for the most part it stays generally clean. It just depends. Right now it's a little dirty because one of my last trips there was lots of mud, and when you set this on the ground and plug it in, mud and stuff does vibrate its way onto it. But guys, it has been compact, it has worked, never failed me, it works every single time, which is awesome. I absolutely love it. And now it's a little more expensive, but for the price of what this is, this thing stands up to ARB insanely. Like, I could put these two head to head, it inflates it at the same time, and it works just as well. Now, I don't have this hard mounted, obviously, that's why it's on the table. Maybe one day down the road I have plans to actually hard mount this into the Jeep, so all I have to do is flip the switch and plug in the hoses and go. We'll see. I haven't gotten that far in the whole scheme of things, but for the most part right now, having this as a, you know, a mobile compact unit works awesome. I absolutely love this thing. Now, that's, you know, that kind of sums up all the pros. Like the motors, guys, they work great. It doesn't make weird noises. It hasn't given me issues. I can't say any more about that than that. Like all things, this does have its cons, and I'm going to be honest, though I love this thing and it has worked flawlessly, there are some things that have, you know, happened with this thing, or little things that parts just do that have driven me up the wall, and I have found them as my cons. Starting with the fitment valves on the hoses. Now, this piece connects to your inflation valve on your tire, and it's just a simple push it on and you push this little green stem forward. Simple as that. However, these things do tend to stick very, very badly. You can push this onto the tire no easily, but when you go to move this green thing, it doesn't always just slide nicely like it is right now. It'll actually get stuck. It doesn't want to move. You have to kind of shake it a bit and then you can pop it on. And then it's kind of the same when you go to take it off sometimes. It gets stuck and you have to really pull on it to get it to come undone. I've had some times where it's taken me multiple attempts to get this to connect to the tire, which can be a bit of a pain sometimes. The other thing is I try and take as good a care of my stuff as I can, and I have taken can air and blown these out before. They do get sand stuck in it like any kind of hose fitting, especially if it drops in the sand. They do get a little sandy, but it's not too bad. But that, trying to get it on can be a pain. Like right now it's stuck, like I can't move it, and I gotta shake it. There we go. See? The other thing, which is with the hoses, which, I don't know. For some people it could be a massive flaw. For me, it bugged me at first, but then I realized that I can just use the air up sensors in the Jeep that tell me what the temperature. Yeah, the temperature of the Jeep. What the air pressure is in the tires. But their little, you know, PSI gauge, their little inflation gauge here, is not the most accurate thing in the world. One, I have found that it is normally off by 5 to 6 psi at a time. And I mean, this will tell me what supposedly all the tires PSIs are, and this is normally 5 psi off from what the Jeep's telling me. So you take it kind of with the grain of salt. And also, this thing tends to, it runs off of a battery, so if you press the on button, the screen comes on. But if you don't press the off or the on button again to turn it off when you're done, it doesn't turn off. It takes a long time for it to just turn off, and then it'll kill the batteries in here, which, like I said, if you don't really use this, it's not that big of a deal. Also, when you use this to deflate your tires, this will tell you what the rough PSI is in the tires, all 4 tires, and then as you let out air, it counts down. I have found that this thing counts down very quickly, which, granted, it's letting tire pressure down, but once it hits 0, it doesn't tell you anything else, and you still have air flowing out of these tires. So you still have to kind of use the Jeep to tell you what the PSI is, unless you have another gauge. Okay, and on to the unit itself. Now, like I said before, the unit works awesome. I've had no issues with the actual mechanical components of the unit. I have not had issues with the hose. I have not had issues with the connectors. Now, I will admit, these connectors are a little small. Like, they're just little baby connectors. I wish they were just a little bigger. I could always upgrade them to be a little bigger, just because they don't really fit over the bolts of the cables for the batteries and stuff like that that are on the battery. You kind of have to hook them on to certain little spots. Not a big deal, but it's just one of those little things. But the biggest issue I've had with the main unit itself is, one, the handle. But you're thinking, well, what's the big deal? You just lift it up and put it away. First off, this unit gets extremely hot when it's running, so you need to grab it by the handle when you're done. Second, this handle is held on by these two little bolts that run through. It's just this big screw, two little bolts. This vibrates itself loose quite a bit. Now, honestly, I have fixed that issue with Loctite, but they do like to rattle themselves loose. And you know, you put this on, you go over, you're checking the screen on your Jeep, watching the count, you know, it count up and whatnot, and then you come back and all of a sudden stuff's vibrating, like it's shaking, and you're hearing all this clattering noise in here. It's just the handle has come loose and all the parts have scattered around it because there's two washers, two nut heads, and then the screw falls out. I have had that happen many times before. I said, I've had enough, I'm Loctiting this. That's one thing about this that I do not like. It's not a big deal, but you know, the parts can disappear, especially if you're in sand. So it's just kind of being cautious. Also, the other thing is, this thing vibrates so much when it is sitting on the ground. If it is muddy, sandy, or anything like that that's not a hard-packed dirt, you're going to have all sorts of rocks, mud, water that flow right up onto this little mounting tray that you can use to either mount this somewhere, or it's just a tray to put it on the ground. It does get it all up on there, and it does get dirty. Once again, not a huge deal. Just clean it off like I do normally afterwards. But it is kind of annoying, especially if it's really muddy and you're getting off the trail or it's sandy, and then you have to like try and wipe it out as best you can, because I don't want it to just, because this sits sideways in here, I just don't want everything to be slap covered in mud or dirt as much. It is a little annoying, but in all, guys, those are the faults with this whole system. A flimsy handle and a tire gauge for the most part that is normally 5 psi off, and little clamps that, you know, little crimps that just get stuck a lot. And I've tried, you know, multiple things to get it to be better, but it's not. But for the price, guys, it works. Like I've said before and at the beginning, it's flawless. And best part is, this is not a sponsor of my channel. MORRFlate does not sponsor my channel, guys. I'm providing this to you guys as just an alternative, another system that you can use, or if you're in the market for one, that you can get that is not as expensive as ARB and works just as well. And like I said, you can hard mount this into here. I have seen other people that have done some modifications to these to mount them in the places. It can be done, and it's fairly straightforward. But as a mobile little unit that you just pull out, plug in, and fill, it works awesome. Now, I promised you guys, what are the updates for the Gen 2? This is like their Gen 1, Gen 2. Now, the Gen 2 has like 2 categories. They have the plain Jane, or they have what they have now is like a Pro version. What the Pro version has is, it's the same thing as this, but it has an actual screen here. And what the screen allows you is you can set, one, it tells you how much is running through here, but you can set the PSI in here. So as the air is going out, it's telling you what it is, but once it hits that PSI, it turns off, which is kind of a cool feature. So once all 4 of your tires are reading on a sensor, let's say 35 PSI, the system shuts down. It doesn't keep running and you have to rush and be like turning it off. It just shuts down. That's on the new Pro version. It actually has the built-in screen and monitoring system for the unit. The rest of it looks the same. Minus, on the new Gen 2s, both models, this is now a steel braided cable, or hose. Cable, hose, whatever you want to call it. It's not rubber anymore like this. It is actually steel braided. And it looks a little bit nicer. It's a little more durable. I've had no issues with this one. These are the exact same. And And on their hoses, they're the exact same. Literally, I don't think anything has really been updated to the hoses. Now with the hoses, if you were to buy them, you don't have to have the little monitoring thing. At the time this was part of the kit, you can just get just the 2-port valves and not the top one. It's fairly easy. But those are what are different with that's been updated. It's been a new hose. The Pro has a screen. The little switch in the back, mine is red. On the Pro and the Gen 2 regular one like this, it's now a little black switch. It's not, I don't know, I like my red switch, but it's now just a little black one. But that, from what I have seen, because I know some people that have the newer one, that is about it that's different with it, guys, which is pretty good. And they have gone up in price a little bit. Each one has their own new price tags to them. I don't know. I'll put a link in the description to the MORRFlate site itself so you can go and check it out, because this one, mine right here, is actually no longer on their site because they have updated it all. So I will be updating the link in the old video and in this video. It's just going to take you to this site. You can see what they have, guys. In total, I think still this may come out to, with the hoses and this now, it's maybe $400, just over $400. Don't quote me on that. It might be a little more nowadays, but it's still way cheaper than ARB altogether. But there it is, guys. But thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, guys. I have a goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I think we can do it. I really do. Also, a link in the description to my other social media platforms. Go check those out, guys. I keep that updated a lot on what I have currently got going on, where I'm at, things like that, because I'm not always here in the garage. So go ahead, check out those things, guys. Also, a link in the description to my Patreon account as well. If you guys would like to help me support me on, if you guys would like to help support the channel, go ahead, head over to there. Otherwise, thank you all again, and I will catch you all next time.